Start, Prabhu?
Yes, ma'am.
Hare Krishna. So let me share my screen. You can see the screen, right, Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 2, text 33. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So text 33. Maitreya Uvacha Tasyaivam vadata shapam भृगोस भगवान् भव निश्चक्राम तथा किञ्चिद् विमन इव सानुगा. Maitreya Uvacha, Maitreya said, Tasya, of him, Evam, thus, Vadata, being spoken, Shapam, curse, Bhrugo, of Bhrugu, Saha, he, Bhagavan, the possessor of all opulences, Bhava, Lord Shiva, Nishchakrama, went, Tata, from there, Kinchit, somewhat, Vimana, morose, Iva, as Sa Anugha, followed by his disciples. Translation. The sage Maitreya said, when such cursing and counter-cursing was going on between Lord Shiva's followers and the parties of Daksha and Bhrigu, Lord Shiva became very morose. Not saying anything, he left the arena of the sacrifice, followed by his disciples. Purport. Here Lord Shiva's excellent character is described. In spite of the cursing and counter-cursing between the parties of Daksha and Shiva, because he is the greatest Vaishnava, he was so sober that he did not say anything. A Vaishnava is always tolerant, and Lord Shiva is considered the topmost Vaishnava. So his character, as shown in this scene, is excellent. He became morose because he knew that these people, both his men and Daksha's, were unnecessarily cursing and counter-cursing one another without any interest in spiritual life. From his point of view, he did not see anyone as lower or higher because he is a Vaishnava. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5:18, Pandita Samadarshina. One who is perfectly learned does not see anyone as lesser or greater because he sees everyone from the spiritual platform. Thus, the only alternative left to Lord Shiva was to leave in order to stop his follower Nandishvara as well as Bhrugumuni from cursing and counter-cursing in that way. So here, the scene is of the sacrificial arena where Daksha is performing this huge ceremony. And there's a conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. And Maitreya is answering Vidura's question, why did Daksha, who was so affectionate towards his daughter, become envious of Lord Shiva, who is the greatest devotee and the best of gentle, and who is non-envious and equal to all living entities? He's also asking, how could Daksha neglect his own daughter? And Daksha is not an ordinary man. He is a Prajapati, and as a Prajapati, his service or dharma is to populate the universes. His name is also, which means expert. So he's expert in many things. He's expert in material activities, producing offsprings. He's expert in performing spiritual, sacrificial ceremonies and ritualistic activities. So he's also the son of Brahma. So in the earlier verses, we read that when Daksha entered the assembly of the sacrificial arena, He was so effulgent that he illuminated the entire assembly. And then he also made the rest of them appear insignificant. So everybody in the assembly, when he walked in, they naturally rose and gave up their seats and paid their due respects, except for Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Now, Daksha being proud, he also thinks himself of superior to Lord Shiva because as his father-in-law, he became very furious with this action of Lord Shiva, and he started insulting him in a very, very offensive language, very insulting, and he cursed Lord Shiva and then he left the assembly. So some of the recap of that insults that he spoke about Lord Shiva is he calls him Yashogna, which means one who spoils the name and fame. Daksha says because of his improper behavior, he has spoiled the fame of all the demigods. He calls him Nirapatrapa. Prabhupada says one who is stunted with the growth of conduct or mannerisms. And he calls him Markatalochana. One who has eyes like monkey is married to my daughter who has eyes like that of a deer cub, Mrigashavakshaya. He also says he was obliged to marry Sati to him by Lord Brahma, and it is so useless just as teaching Vedas to Shudras. So, how offensive is that to speak like this to Lord Shiva? He also says he is impure, Ashuchaye, he is Manine, proud, and he is Binna Setave, one who has broken all rules of civility. Here is Lord Shiva, who is exhibiting the highest Vaishnava etiquette, and then Daksha is accusing him of one who has broken all rules of civility. He further calls him that he lives in horrible places like that of the crematoriums, and he is accompanied by the bhutas and pretas. And he also calls him filthy, and he has scattered hair, and he wears a garland made out of skulls and bones. So, in spite of all of this insulting that is going on, Lord Shiva is so calm and composed, and we'll see in this verse how he responds. Shiva is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. So, Lord Shiva is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. And this is a verse that teaches us what to do and what not to do, and how to respond to criticism and such poisonous speech. So, there are two things in this verse that are highlighted. One is tolerance. Lord Shiva exemplifies this quality of tolerance. And also, he teaches us how to respond to criticism, which is a powerful package of exhibiting the Vaishnava etiquette that His Holiness Rumpad Maharaj always emphasizes. So, a few things about tolerance. So, there is a verse from Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 21. Titikshava Karunika Suhrida Sarva Dehinam Ajata Shatrava Shanta Sadhava Sadhubhushana. So here the qualities of a sadhu are described. So the symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, titikshava, he is merciful, karuna, and friendly to all living entities, suhrda. He has no enemies, ajata shatrava, he is peaceful, shanta, and he abides by scriptures, sadhava, and all his characteristics are sublime, sadhu bhushana. Just a few lines from the purport. A sadhu, as described above, is a devotee of the Lord. His concern, therefore, is to enlighten people in devotional service to the Lord, and that is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. A devotee travels all over the country, from door to door, preaching, be Krishna conscious, be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Don't spoil your life in simply fulfilling your animal propensities. Human life is meant for self-realization or Krishna consciousness. These are the preachings of a sadhu. He is not satisfied with his own liberation. He always thinks about others. He is the most compassionate personality towards all fallen souls. Therefore, one of his qualifications is Karunika, the great mercy to the fallen souls. While engaged in preaching work, he has to meet with so many opposing elements, and therefore the sadhu or a devotee of the Lord has to be very tolerant. Someone may ill-treat him because the conditioned souls are not prepared to receive this transcendental knowledge of devotional service. They do not like it, and that is a disease. The sadhu has the thankless task of impressing upon them the importance of devotional service. So Lord Shiva exhibits all the qualities that are described here as a sadhu, and which is why he is the greatest of the Vaishnavas. In the previous verses we read, he is the Charachara Guru, the spiritual master of all animate and inanimate objects. He is called Nirvairyam, without enmity. He is Shanta Vigraham. He has a peaceful personality. He is Atmaramam, self-satisfied in himself. And he is the most compassionate because he is also called Bhutanatha, which means he becomes the worshipable deity of all the dull-headed, ignorant people and the ghosts, bhutas and pretas, the demons and the ghosts. So that is those are the qualities of Lord Shiva. And you know, in this age of Kali, people who are in the mode of darkness, who mode of ignorance, who are not able to take shelter anywhere else, right? It is said in the earlier purports that Lord Vishnu and the Lord Brahma, they accept elevated Vaishnavas and those who are attracted to material activities. But for all the dull-headed and the ignorant and who are in a hopeless and a helpless situation, Lord Shiva is the one who gives shelter to them, and he takes charge of them, and he takes it as a responsibility to elevate them into taking up into devotional service. It's a very hard job, but Lord Shiva takes that responsibility, and so he's a very compassionate. He's of very compassionate nature. So another verse, which is a celebrated verse for tolerance from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Trinadapi Sunichena Taroriva Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, who does not accept personal honor, yet is always prepared to give respect. All respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. So here the four qualities that are described: humility, tolerance, not expecting respect, and at the same time giving respect to everyone. These are the qualities a Vaishnava should possess in order to have full access, a full-fledged access to Krishna through his holy name. We all know that we can see Krishna through the sound vibration, through chanting the Mahamantra, and tolerance is one of the important qualities that a Vaishnava should possess. So humility and tolerance will protect us from committing any offenses. So the two analogies that are given here are the grass and the tree. Grass for humility, because grass is stepped upon by everybody, but still the grass doesn't protest and doesn't stop giving. At the same time, tree is also very giving. It withstands all seasons, extreme heat, extreme cold, wind, and whatnot, but it just doesn't stop giving. It, even if it is harmed, when the tree is cut down, it still gives. So tree gives shelter, food, and wood, right? So having these qualities of humility and tolerance, right? Even if somebody harms us or insults us or mistreats us, responding with kindness. These qualities help us respond with kindness even when we are mistreated. So tolerance, I would say, is one of the gateways for us to chant the holy name. So even in the previous cantos, example of Draupadi, when there's a killing of Ashwathama, that pastime, Ashwathama to be punished. So there is Krishna giving his arguments to Arjuna to kill Ashwathama, and at the same time, Draupadi is giving her reasoning not to kill Ashwathama. And there is Bhima's anger in between. So in between all of this, Arjuna, he had to make the right decision and he had to punish Ashwathama in the right way. So of course he's a pure devotee of the Lord, and he has the mercy of the Lord, and the Lord gives him the intelligence to punish him in the right way. But in between all this, when Draupadi has lost her own kids, she's so composed, calm and composed, and she is exhibiting, the tolerance and compassion to the highest level. So she is an epitome of tolerance and compassion. So tolerance is, I would say, one of the jewels of Vaishnavas. So moving on to the next part, which is responding to criticism. So we all know that there are three modes of nature: mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and mode of goodness. And we are conditioned in different ways. And depending on how we associate or how we are influenced by these modes of nature, we act in those ways. By nature, I would say we are part and parcel of Krishna. So by nature, we are pure in quality like Krishna. But for some reason or the other, we chose not to be with him, and we turned away from him, and we chose not to associate with his internal energy, which is full of knowledge and bliss. But in spite, we chose to associate with his external energy, Prakriti. Hence, we have these temporary bodies. And this is the age of Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel, or the age of ignorance. And it's a very dangerous world to live in. So any moment that we are not careful and we don't have that wall of protection and shelter, we will be easily swept away by this external illusion, external energy, or the illusion Maya. So a specific aspect of illusion in this verse is critical speech. So in verse 19, when Daksha, he gets furious and he curses Lord Shiva and he leaves the assembly in spite of all the assembled personalities requesting him to say, he just leaves after cursing Lord Shiva. So Prabhupada says anger is very detrimental to our spiritual progress. Even for great personalities like Daksha, he was taken over by anger, so what to speak of us? So Prabhupada also says if one has to make spiritual advancement, we must avoid three things: lust, anger, and greed. In the same purport, it's also said, Lord Chaitanya therefore advised that one be very careful not to offend Vaishnavas. Offenses against devotees are like a mad elephant, and as a mad elephant can do anything horrible, when a person offends a Vaishnava, he also can perform any abominable action. His Holiness Rumpad Maharaj, in a China class a couple of days ago, I think he said sin is very bad and offense is even more bad. So somehow we are extremely fortunate that we have come in association of Prabhupada either through his books or through his disciples who are our spiritual masters. And they have sown the seed of devotional service in us. And if the seed is not protected, if it is not taken care, like Maharaj says, if it is not softened with water, that seed will never sprout. So if the seed of this creeper of devotion, Bhakti Lata Bija, if it is not taken care, it'll be taken over by the weed. So some of us who do gardening can relate to this, that after frost, when go out to the garden and direct sow the seeds, to grow either the flowering plants or the fruits and vegetables. So it's a lot of effort to sow in the seed on the ground and then water it every day and keep anticipating the growth of the seed. And then when the seed finally starts sprouting after a week, if we neglect one of the weekends, not cleaning up the garden, not cleaning up the weed, boom, there is the weed grows humongous and it is so enormous that it just kills that, the creeper of that seed that is set to grow. So it is very important for us to take care of the seed of devotional service in us and, have that wall of protection and not disturb that. So in this situation, how does Lord Shiva feel? He feels very morose because, all these people who have assembled in the assemblies, they're not just ordinary people. There are great brahmanas, the sages and demigods, most qualified people. There's Nandishwara, there's Bhrugumuni, best of the stages, but here they are criticizing one another. Right. So when Lord Shiva was insulted, Nandishwara started cursing, and then Bhrugumuni started counter cursing. So they're criticizing one another. So if one is not fully fixed up in devotional service, it can become very overwhelming in such situations. I mean, it got overwhelming for all these great personalities, Nandishwara and Bhrugumuni, and what to speak of us. So, so this also teaches how to respond externally and internally. Grace Urmila Mataji, when she was here for the Vaishnava etiquette, she taught us how to respond as an individual and as a community when others mess up or when we mess up. So, if we are speaking criticism or if we are even hearing criticism, that is not good. So, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, and even in the further chapters of this canto, Sati continues and she says, 3 ways to externally behave when there is criticism. So the translation says, if one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender. And after that, one should give up his own life. So 3 things. One is defend the person philosophically. If we are in that position and we have the capability of doing it, it's not that we should not be argumentative with our spiritual masters and senior devotees, but if we are in that position and if we are in a position to defend the person philosophically, we can do that. Otherwise, the second thing is, if you have to cut out the tongue of the person who is criticizing or blaspheming and kill the person and also give up our life, which is not advised for us. So the third thing is, if you're not able to do either of these, just immediately vacate the place, leave the place. So these are the 3 external ways how we could respond when there are situations like this. And then how do you respond internally? When we are witnessing criticism in our Vaishnava society, or if we ourselves are criticizing somebody, before we perform an action like this, I think, we should pause, recognize, regret, and rectify. So we should recognize what is critical speech. I mean, anything and everything that is said to us, we can't take it as criticism. So we should be in a position to recognize what is critical speech and what are those critical thoughts in our mind and how do we respond internally. So like Lord Shiva, we should also feel very morose that we are speaking in such a way and we are thinking in such a way. And if we are in the mode of goodness, we at least, we are in a position to recognize what is right and what is wrong. In the mode of passion and ignorance, it is very difficult to do so. So at least, it's always important for us to elevate to the mode of goodness and then think in that mode. And if we are in that mode of goodness, I think we will definitely feel guilty and will feel remorseful about our improper behavior. And I think, in the mode of goodness too, the anger, I don't know if it will go away completely, but I think, it is to a very greater percentage, it is diminished. So that is one. But then for some reason, if you are not able to, if you don't feel that way, if you're not able to understand that we are, behaving in an inappropriate way or improper behavior, I think we should introspect. And there is Guhya Makyati Prachati. Speak to a senior devotee or speak to trustworthy adults, and then have that Guhya Makyati Prachati and introspect. What are we doing? Why do I allow myself to think critically? Why am I allowing myself to speak ill about other Vaishnavas? And why am I even allowing myself to complain about situations that other Vaishnavas has put me in? I mean, although it's Krishna's arrangement, we should see what is Krishna teaching us in this, and we should protect our seat of devotional service, and we should also question where we destroying our spiritual progress. Right. So that is that. And we've also read there are 4 stages of sinful reactions: bijam, kutam, prarabdha, and aprarabdha. So we should, kill this kill this in the seed stage itself. Any criticism that is coming to our mind, or if we are acting on it, we should make an effort to kill it in the seed stage itself, so that it doesn't grow enormous and it becomes escalated. There is also a verse from Nectar of Instruction. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jihva vegam, udra upastha vegam. So a person who is able to tolerate these 6 urges can make disciples all over the world. And Prabhupada wants us to follow in the footsteps of Goswamis and become ourselves Goswamis and make disciples all over the world. So one of the important urges that we need to tolerate is urge of speech. Speaking non-Krishna Katha topics, of course, and I think it is also, the urge of speech is urge of criticizing somebody. So if you're able to tolerate that, I think that would help us in not being in such a situation, and also protect our seed of devotional service. So it's a saying that we can make world a better place to live. So I think in our Vaishnava society we can make it a better place to live, and because it's a blissful state to be in, I feel. Um, and we should not hold ourselves to be in such a state of bliss where when somebody sees me they are happy, and when I see somebody they are happy. And it is easier said than done, but I think the essential key is to take association of Vaishnavas like Lord Shiva. And of course we have the Naperville temple, which I'm very grateful for. We have so many elevated personalities, exalted Vaishnavas, and traveling sannyasis who come and visit us. So we should definitely take their association, and we feel rejuvenated, we feel surcharged, and we also feel we also get purified in their association. And I think the byproducts are that our chanting becomes more blissful, and we'll start interacting with the devotees also. We'll have those sweet exchanges with the devotees. It is said that who we spend time with, that's who we become. So we should always seek association of people who are beyond criticism, which is Uttamadhikari. So with that, I would like to end with a verse that is close to my heart from Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 20. Prasangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu saiva sadhushu kruto mokshadvaram apavritam. Every learned man who knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of spiritual soul. But that same attachment, when applied to self-realized devotees, opens the door for liberation. Us living in this material world, we definitely have attachment, and that attachment can't be curbed. But if we channelize that attachment towards sadhus, towards our spiritual master, I think we can protect that seed of devotional service and not destroy our spiritual progress. And it opens the doors for liberation. So with that, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. And if there is any comments or feedback, please.
Hare Krishna. It is so nice to hear you speak. I am sorry I came in late, and I'm not sure if you gave classes prior to this, but this is my first time hearing you.
My first time,
So,
Mataji.
oh, really? Okay.
Lakshmi Sham
Wonderful.
Prabhu tried several times, and somehow it did not work out, and here I am.
Glad he got you on the roster. I was going to say that, you spoke with, it was very easy to follow, even though I came in late, it was easy to follow. You spoke in a logical manner. It was the pace of your speech was just correct. The points that you are presenting flowed smoothly from one point to the next. It was very logical. You spoke about how do we respond externally, how do we respond internally, and then the even the bija kuta, applying that. Of course, that is spoken in terms of karma, but then you use those terms to say how when we recognize an issue, we try to pull it out, right from the seed level itself. So, yeah, I just wanted to extend my appreciation. It was really nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything else?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Same thing for me also. I was thinking like this is the first time to hear, and it is a debut class for you. It was so wonderful. Went to the points one after another, and it's a pack of everything. You gave the list of all the offenses and how the Daksha and all those things, and also how Shiva also aspect Sati was thinking in her mind about that, and so nice, wonderful to come back again and again. Mataji. So
Mataji.
good for me.
Thank you. Lakshmikant Prabhu, are you here? Okay. If not, we can end. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarabhyascha Kripasindhubhyo eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय।